Okay, hi everyone, welcome back to another video. And now today guys, I'm going to talk about biceps and how to train them to get them bigger. Now I just wanted to do this video because as I'm studying physical therapy, I'm studying anatomy, physiology, and I've come to see a lot of people actually training biceps just in one way and not training them as they should be trained. Now biceps are a muscle that you can find here in the upper portion of the arm, and the bicep is going to be made of two heads. So the short head is going to attach into the coracoid process, and the long head instead is going to be attaching into the supraglenoid tuberculus. So the main function of the bicep is pretty much flexion of the elbow, then supination as well of the forearm, and as well shoulder flexion, because of the fact that both heads are going to actually attach into the scapula, so not into the humerus but into the scapula. That means that the bicep is going to have also a function into the shoulder joint. So as for example, when you move the arm upwards, the scapular positioning will change, and especially the long head is going to be responsible for helping in shoulder flexion. Now why this is important? For the very simple reason that if you want to train your biceps fully, you need to incorporate these three movements: supination, elbow flexion, and shoulder flexion. So a lot of people supinate, they flex the elbow, but they don't activate the shoulder flexion. So they leave one part of the bicep movement completely out of the equation, and that's why you may have problems at developing it, or you're just not training it as well as you should. Just think about, for example, the triceps, the long head of the tricep that is pretty much the same as the biceps. It's going to be a biarticular muscle. It's going to act on the elbow joint and on the shoulder joint. In this case, the tricep will help at extending the shoulder. So if you don't train with the shoulder extended and then you train with the flexing the extending the elbow and so on, you're not going to really target, you're not going to train the long head of the tricep. The same goes for the bicep. So if you don't incorporate shoulder flexion into your workouts as you're training this muscle will not develop as it could be. So that being said, now I'm going to show you some different variations as you can do to just train this muscle fully. So of course the first action is supination. So it's very important always having your palm, the palm of your hand facing forward. So this is just supination, right? And the more you can like supinate, right, the better it is. So I always recommend try to, whenever you're grabbing, even if you're doing chin-ups, when you're doing some, I don't know, weights, when you're doing elastic bands, whatever you may be doing, always trying to like do start your movement with the last three fingers. So with these three fingers, so really try to grip like the weight, try to grip it and to like keep it like this. So like you're using the third, the fourth and the fifth finger to do the movement, because that is going to keep an extra supination position, and that's going to help you recruit more the biceps. Second thing, of course, is elbow flexion. So in this case you can start with the elbow completely extended and then you can contract, and in this case it's going to be a concentric movement. You can start instead with the muscle instead shorten, and you can try to control as the resistance, as the weight or as the resistance is pulling your muscle, is lengthening it, so you have to resist the resistance. That's an eccentric movement. Or you can just hold. In this case the isometric movement can be done in many different angles, so it can be like even like 5 degrees here, it can be done at 90 degrees, it can be done more. It's pretty much, you need to you can do it at different angles in the flexion of the elbow, and then finally shoulder flexion. Now to really activate more the bicep than the deltoid when you're doing shoulder flexion, you should try to always, well, first of all, remember supination, all right? Elbow in this time is going to be extended, And then very important, keeping your shoulder down and back as you are moving your arm, because if you just move your shoulder to the front and you lift it up, you're going to use more the deltoid to perform this movement. So keeping your shoulder down and back as you are doing this movement is going to really recruit more the long head of the bicep. And you can already see here, even like if I'm trying to hold, right here I can feel the muscle working and being activated. So then of course when you're training you want to combine these three actions. So for example, the classic bicep curl, right, a lot of people may be doing it, and they do it just like this. So they are in this position here, they place themselves and then they boom, right, and then they do this. This is completely fine because you have supination, right, you have elbow flexion. The problem is that you don't have shoulder flexion, and even if you do this at the very end, does not count, because it's just, you're actually cheating because you are trying to use other muscles to help you in the last portion of the movement. What you really need to do is not just place the shoulder in, place the joint in shoulder flexion and just passively. So in this case, like imagine I have something like a table and I'm just leaving my arm here, and then here I'm doing this, right? That is not going to do anything because this shoulder flexion is just passive, so the muscle is not being activated. So in order to really activate the bicep fully, you need to stay in this position, and then you need to place shoulder flexion actively, so you need to actually use the muscle to be in this position, and then from here you can then curl. And you always try to fix, so the shoulder flexion position, you always try to fix it, so don't moving it. So it's not that when you're here, and then when you go up you just bring the elbow back. You're always trying to leave the same room here, and that is gonna activate your biceps a lot more, because you are incorporating all the different movements that the muscle would do together. Or another thing that I always like to do is in this case supination, alright, elbow extended, and in this case I'm trying to keep my shoulder down and back to lift up the weight like this, and then down. So just reaching 90 degrees, holding, and then down. And this is gonna really, you can, I don't know if you can see it, but I can really feel the bicep here, especially the long head, being activated to do this shoulder flexion movement. So all those exercises you can do it with weights, as I showed you. You can do it with an elastic band. It's exactly the same. In this case, the elastic band, the more you pull it, the higher the resistance will be. So you can train it for other purposes, like other goals, when you're training with the elastic band. And normally the elastic band is good because you're gonna always have tension. Sometimes when you're playing with the weight and you just place yourself maybe a little too much with gravity will actually help you at performing the movement. And so many times the elastic band may be better for that reason. And then final thing that I wanted to show you, that is also the reason why, like for example, gymnastics athletes have those huge biceps, is especially because they're doing this movement. So they're using a lot the biceps in isometric contraction, so the muscles are not actually moving, or they're not being, so the fibers are staying stable, but they're in tension because they want to oppose the lengthening, right? And that is the planche lean. Now, many times, like in rings, for example, the cross, planche, all the Victorian, all the different movements are going to involve something called holding a static position while having your elbows completely locked out. So like this, imagine here across, you're holding it, so your body wants to do this, so you need to hold it down, or more than that, the planche or the Victorian. In this case, your body is full straight, imagine here like this, and your shoulder wants to break, so your shoulders wanna go to shoulder extension, right? Your elbows wanna bend, but you're keeping them straight. And this movement is massively recruiting the biceps to be able to be performed. And here, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it here from the front, but just by placing myself here, right, in this planche lean position, so right from the side it looks like this. So it's just like a push-up, a pseudo push-up position, all right? So supination, very important. And then from here, you're just bringing your feet a little closer to your hands as you lean forward and forward and forward and forward, always having your elbows locked out. And you're trying to hold your shoulders, not doing this, right? So not bending. So here, my triceps, yes, they are recruited a little bit, but it's not more on the triceps. It's more the effect here on the shoulder with shoulder flexion. So trying to keep it like this. Now, I don't know if you can see it from the front, but I feel the biceps here firing, really working so much to keep the position. So I don't know if you can see it from the front here. I'm gonna try to show it to you. So here, just leaning forward, 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 right here. And then down. And you feel exactly everything here firing, holding the position. And then that's it. So if you wanna have bigger biceps, remember guys, supination, flexion of the elbow, and very important, flexion of the shoulder. If you incorporate these three movements with the different exercises I showed you, you're gonna for sure develop them. So I hope you enjoyed and see you. Bye bye.